All right, guys, thank you for joining me on this Sunday night. And I know we just finished up a little bit of recognition, but I still do not have the official incentive earner list for this past family incentive. So as soon as I have that official list from Scentsy, I'm going to be doing all of the recognition. For those of you who maybe don't know, who are new, who don't realize what's going on, we were very, very unsure about what was going to happen with the incentive because of COVID. We didn't know if there was going to be a buyout. We didn't know if the trip was going to be canceled. We had no idea. Well, Scentsy gave us the option of a cash buyout or going on the Scentsy trip. And the amount that you got for your cash buyout was dependent on what level you earned. So people from level 1 to level 6, they're earning anywhere from about $2,000 to $11,000, just cash bonus if you chose not to take the trip. I say this with all the love in my heart. Take the trip. I really have had an emotional week. Just in general, I've been very off of social media, but let me tell you that you need to take the trip. I earned Disney. It was my very first incentive. I joined on the last day of July. I had earned it by October as a star consultant. I was not getting any money child support wise. I was supporting my son completely by myself. I mean, I had my family, and Chase and I had just started dating, maybe we had been together maybe a year at that point. And growing up, I always went to Disney World. Like, we went all the time. And when all of the things happened in my life, I was like, I'm never going to be able to take my kid to Disney World. Like, I'm never going to be able to let him experience what I experienced growing up. And when I earned that trip, y'all, it was everything. Not just because I got to take my baby to Disney World, but because I grew up going to Disney World and I never have experienced Disney World the way that I did with Scentsy. Never. You won't, because they put you up in the best places. Not only is Disney magical as it is, Scentsy makes it even more magical, if that's even possible. And the money looks good. I mean, I'll tell you right now, it's almost $8,000 if I took the buyout. $8,000 is a lot of money. I could do a lot of different things with it. But there is no amount of money that you can put on the experience that you will get through Disney. And when I earned it the first time, I only earned it for one person. I had to buy in Chase and I bought in my son. There was a payment plan, and I think I paid $1,500 for both of them to go. And the experience that I had is just like no other. And that's exactly what made me fall in love with Scentsy, the way that I'm so ride or die right now, because there is nothing like a Scentsy incentive trip. And it hurts my heart that we're in this environment where buyouts like have to be an option. Because for those of you that don't know, Canada is part of our region, and Canadians can't travel right now, like at all, out of country. So I kind of knew that Scentsy was going to do something. I am praising Jesus's name that this trip isn't canceled and that it's going to go on as planned, because I cannot freaking wait to have my team members and their family in Disney with us. Because I promise you, and I'm so sorry, I'm like getting all emotional, but there's just nothing like it. SFR is amazing, but a Scentsy incentive trip, there's just nothing like it. So even though that money is going to seem really great, if you can take the trip, take the trip. You can sell more PRV. You can recruit more. You can make up that cash bonus Blair and I were talking, and I mean, Chase said it perfectly. He was like, Chastity, you worked your tail off to get your kids to go to Disney. You didn't work your tail off for a cash bonus. You told me when this incentive dropped that you were going to work your tail off so that 5 years later you could take MJ at the exact same age that Mason was when you took him. And you told me that you were going to take Mason back and he was going to be old enough to remember and ride all the rides and do all the things. So that's all I'm going to say about that. And Jen, you are never going to overstep by saying that you saw me change, because you are one of the only people who really knew me before Scentsy and before all of that. I mean, some of you guys did, but Scentsy changed me. I am 100% a different person because of Scentsy. Okay, so I'm going to get it together, but I know that anybody that's ever been on a Scentsy incentive trip can agree with me. Those of you that went to Europe, those of you that have went even on an SFR trip, I know that you guys completely agree with me, because there's not a doubt in my mind. If you go on a Scentsy incentive trip and you have a bad time, you're just a negative person. I mean, there's nothing else to even say about that. Okay, y'all. Getting it together. All right. Number one, for those of you that weren't on here for just a second, we are talking about leader do's and leader don'ts. Okay. Leaders do prioritize their business. Leaders do not focus on things that do not matter. Okay. The 80-20 rule. This is something that I live by, and I know I don't talk about it enough. 80% your business, 20% your team. Okay. 80% your business, 20% your team. Now, when I say those percentages, I'm not a math person. 4th grade math was a struggle for me. Break it down. If you work full-time, for instance, and let's say you have maybe an hour a day throughout the week to work your business, and then on the weekends you work some more. Figure out exactly what that amount is and find the percentage. And you will know if you're spending way too much time on your team, or whether or not you need to be continuing to focus on your own personal business, because your personal business always, always, always has to come first, always. And I see so many leaders give so much to their team that their personal business dies. And that is one of the number one reasons why I love Scentsy and why I'm ride or die Scentsy, because our compensation plan doesn't allow for people to join the company and sit at the top and make money off of all the people underneath them and never do anything. And there are a few of us that were with another company and they could do that. They could do that and just make the money. And once they got there, they don't have to do much of anything else. They buy their own products and they continue to make that money. And I don't believe in that. So 80-20. For me, this looks like 500 PRV by the 5th of the month. Period. 500 by the 5th. That's what I live by. We say 500 by the 15th is what leaders do. Absolutely, that's what leaders do. But leaders also strive for excellence. And for me, excellence is 500 by the 5th. And I don't get there on accident. Okay. Also, that means 2,000 by the 15th. That's the standard that I set for myself. You can't hold everybody to that standard, and I'm not going to hold everybody to that standard. But 500 by the 5th, 2,000 by the 15th, that's non-negotiable for me. That's non-negotiable. Okay. Active frontline. Also, I want 5 active frontline by the 5th, period. That's non-negotiable for me. 5 active frontline by the 5th. Because no matter what title you're at, 3 active frontline is the minimum. I'm not a minimum person. I'm going to strive for excellence. And I say 5 by the 5th. And the reason why I think that that is a good goal to set for yourself is because if you have 5 people who have at least 200 PRV by the 5th of the month, that tells you that you have some people on your team that aren't just hobbyists. Now, are all 5 of those people going to be rock stars or maybe not hobbyists? We don't know. But if you can look at your numbers and you can set yourself a goal of having at least 5 active frontline by the 5th, you're setting yourself up for a very strong business. Because one of the biggest mistakes as a leader is to be worrying about where your 3rd active frontline is going to come from for you to be paid at title. And there's been a lot of people in that situation, and it's because they didn't continue to sponsor. And so that's my next topic, where we're talking about prioritizing your business. Sponsoring never stops. So you've heard me talk about the 2x2x2 rule. 2,000 PRV, 2 new teamies for 2 years. Teach your team to do the same. If you can do 2,000 PRV and 2 new teamies for 6 months, you'll be a director. Hands down. Doing 2,000 PRV and 2 new teamies in 1 month is hard. It's hard. Doing it consistently for 6 months is even harder. Teaching your team to do that is even harder. But daily, consistent action is always going to get you to your goals. Always. But if you aren't continuing to practice the 80-20 rule, 80% you, 20% your team, your business will die. This is why I also do not do team stuff during the first week of the month. That is my time. And a lot of times it's almost up until the 15th of the month that I am just focused on my business, because I have a lot of goals to meet, guys. And 2,000 PRV used to be very, very high reaching for me. And I don't say that to brag. I say that because we've all been there, right? We all aren't going to start out at 5,000 PRV every single month, right? But this past year, I've really challenged myself. I've got to get out of my comfort zone. I've got to get out of my comfort zone, and I'm not going to do that without having high PRV. Now, because I have continued to grow my business and continue to follow up and build my customer base, 2,000 PRV by the 15th isn't hard anymore. In the moment that you get complacent as a leader, your business will start to dwindle and your business will start to die. So I could see that I have almost 3,000 PRV right now and not quit, but like coast through the rest of the month, or I could continue to build my business. Because at the end of the day, if you're struggling with sponsoring, I can promise you your PRV is probably low. Because high PRV is always going to bring you more new team members. Because if you have high PRV, then you are doing you're having a lot of conversations, you're partying, you're meeting with people, you're engaging your circle, you're getting people addicted to Scentsy. That is there. It's not a coincidence that Accelerated Leadership wants you to do those things. There's a reason behind it. And there's a reason that we say 2,000 PRV, 2 new teamies. It's not just some number we made up. It's statistics. Okay. So know those things, but daily consistent action. Daily, meaning you have a daily mode of operation. And we're going to talk more about that in a second. Number 2, leaders do try and use all of our products. Leaders do try and use all of our products. Leaders do not sell for multiple companies. Leaders do try and use all products. Leaders do not sell for multiple companies. Now, does that mean that you have to love our sugar scrub? No. Does that mean you have to love blueberry cheesecake? No. But You cannot recommend our sugar scrub to someone who reaches out to you and asks you about it, and you say, I've never tried it, I don't know. Because your job as a leader and your job as a consultant is to at least try it. Even if that means getting a sample from your upline because you can't afford to buy a sugar scrub because you're on a budget. I get it. Been there, done that. It's fine. But you need to be able to at least give your honest review. This weekend, I warmed Mad for Melon in my downstairs warmers. It was a scent that I sort of liked, but I didn't really know if I was going to like it a lot. And I'll be honest, a lot of the new scents this spring catalog are not on my top list because there's a lot of vanilla, there's a lot of perfumey type scents, and I don't like that. But I am committed to trying them because we all know that a bar smells different when it's warmed, right? I think most of you guys can agree with me on that. Blueberry cheesecake gives me a migraine, but it's strong. And if somebody asks me for a really strong scent, I can tell them clothesline and blueberry cheesecake. Now, if somebody asks me, well, how do you think Mad for Melon is? I can say, honestly, I didn't think I was going to like it, but it's super fresh and clean, almost like cocoa lime. And I'm obsessed with cocoa lime. So you have to try out and use our products. You know, I was never selling any Scentsy Fresh before I started making my bed and spraying it. And now I sell more of it than anything else besides wax. You know what I haven't been sharing a lot of? Pods. So you know what your girl's about to be focused on? Pods. Why? Because they can't get refills from anybody else. They have to go to a Scentsy lady. Our Pods products are freaking amazing. Why have I not been sharing them? I just got caught up in the moment. But you have to be able to use the products honestly. If you don't like it, you can tell your customers that. But I just don't think that it's fair as the consultant for you to say, well, I've never used that. Because if we have a product, you need to at least give it a chance. Because why should they choose our hand soap over Bath and Body Works if you don't talk about it and you're using Bath and Body Works and they see you in there? No, honey. You get paid to wash your hands with our soap, not Bath and Body Works. Now, if you like it better because you like that it foams, guys, you can buy the foaming dispensers. There ain't no shame in that. Buy the foaming dispenser and tell your customers that's what you do. Don't like our bottles? Put it in a glass mason jar bottle from Target, but share with your customers that that's what you do. Bath and Body Works, you know what else they do? They have sugar scrubs. Buy their hand soaps. You know what you can do? Get you a jar, honey. And you can put your Luna sugar scrub out there with a pretty jar in your half bath that your guests use. Do the same things, but remember what we get paid for, okay? My notes say, how can you sell something that you haven't tried yourself? So think about that. When I say that leaders don't sell for multiple companies, leaders bring value to their community. And your community doesn't know what to think if you're selling Scentsy this week, but you're selling Monet next week. And then there was a join special for 31 gifts. So now when they go to your profile, you have all three things. You know what Chastity's going to do? Chastity's not going to shop from any of those from you. Why? Because that shows me that you're not loyal to anything. Because you need to be loyal. I use the company I used to sell for. I still use their products. I still support the consultants in that company that take it seriously, that have stuck with it, that share about it all the time. I'm not saying that I don't support other direct sales because that's all, I would much rather support a direct sales than someone else. But there's a girl in my town, I think she sold for every single company. And I don't buy anything from her because she has no brand loyalty. And your people need to know you as the Scentsy lady, not as the direct sales lady. Because also when they see you selling for multiple companies, that tells them you just want money in your pocket, that you don't care about whatever else. And trust and believe, there has been, and I'm sure many other leaders have been approached to join another company as well. They'll say, you're doing so well in Scentsy, you really need to come and sell Young Living. Bye. I'm ride or die Scentsy till the day I die. I believe in our products. I will support you. Yes, I use oils from other companies. They're good. I'm not going to say that they're not, but you have to be ride or die and confident in that decision, because don't be weak in it, because they'll sense your weakness. But if you come back at them and say, I am ride or die Scentsy, I would love to support you, but I am staying where I'm at. That's not good. I don't even know what word to say, but that's not good business practice. What would I look like to my team? And ask yourself that. If you're selling for another company, what are you teaching your team? You're teaching your team that. And I can preach on this because I've been there, done that. Chloe had the hard conversation with me, got the t-shirt, went all in with Scentsy, promoted to director 3 months later. And I've never looked back, because you can't give 100% to all these different pots. It's different when you're working a full-time job, a career, and you're doing network marketing. But it's not the same thing if you're doing 2 different network marketing companies. Don't do it. Don't be that girl. Be the Scentsy girl, not the direct sales girl. Number 3, leaders do lead from the front. Leaders do lead from the front. Leaders do not ask their teams to do something that they aren't willing to do. So leaders do lead from the front. Leaders do not ask their teams to do something they aren't willing to do. I cannot stand a leader who asks someone to go live when I haven't seen them go live in weeks. I cannot stand a leader to be preaching about having 500 PRV by the 15th and their PRV is at 35 because they got sent it a month. Been there, done that. And I will have those hard conversations with leaders, but that's not what we do. Leaders set the pace. Leaders set the pace. So if you want your team or your go-getters to have 2,000 PRV a month and 2 new teamies, how are you showing up to do that? How are you showing up? So you have to set the pace. Are there months where I don't have that? Yeah, absolutely. But just like Anna said, she said last month that she didn't have any. This month she has 3 working on a 4th. She's making up for that and showing her team. I can guarantee you she's talking to her team about last month versus this month and what's changed. And her and I have had that conversation. She knew she wasn't talking to enough people. Same thing with Chastity. Chastity wasn't asking enough people in January. That's nobody's fault but my own. But I'm self-reflective enough to know that. But I'm going to set the pace. You can't ask someone on your team to have 2,000 PRV every month if you've never had it once. You just can't do it. Leaders are solution driven, meaning something sells out really quickly. Leaders aren't venting down to their downline. Leaders are flipping the script, taking a minute when things make them upset and saying, well, you know, yes, that sold out so quick. Maybe they'll do a pre-order. Scentsy's good about doing things like that. But if you're going to look for a problem, there's always going to be one. You could look for the problem that the weather is doing whatever it's doing, so our warehouses were shut down. Instead of complaining about it, be solution driven. Help your team come up with some type of email to send the customers to let them know, because communication is key. Scensy's been on it with shipping here lately, but we can't control the weather. We can't control that Texas, the whole dang state, is like shut the heck down. We can't control that. But what we can control is how we react to it. We could be up in arms and throwing a fit that SFR was canceled, trust me, I don't like it. I'm not happy about it, but I'm not going to go and vent down to my team. We're going to come up with a solution and we're going to make it positive. Okay. Leaders do focus on income producing activities. This is also with leading from the front, meaning that they're not doing all the fluff, all the things that don't matter. They're not making samples if they don't have their 500 in. Okay. Number 4, leaders do share how they are working with their teams. Leaders do share how they are working with their teams. And I don't think any of you guys have done this, but this next one may ruffle some feathers. Leaders do not ask on a team page to be spammed with ideas. Leaders do not ask on a team page to be spammed with ideas. Why? Because there's a search bar. Why? Because there's albums. Why? Because there's the workstation. Why? Because there are plenty of other ways, especially, and I'm not saying this about, hey, does somebody have, spam me with flyers for the 10 bars for 40 that's coming out on Monday. That's different. But when someone says spam me for ideas for customer mailouts, when my team page has been up and running for 5 years, search customer mail, search mailouts, search a million things instead of just asking to be spammed. And I never comment on those posts on my team page. I see them, but I'm not rewarding that behavior. The only thing that I would ever say is, hey, have you tried using the search? Because I'm not going to reward that behavior. And I don't want you guys to do that either, because people are always going to take and take and take and take. And all it would take is somebody Googling, Pinteresting, searching in our team pages. All of the directors on here have team pages that have tons and tons and tons of content. Go look for it. And that's why even some of my people on my page will be like, hey, I used the search. I couldn't find such and such. That's okay. I'm okay with that if I know that you've actually went and looked. But I don't have, that bothers me just because it's usually very, very simple stuff. Spam me for your thank you postcard ideas. Guys, search the albums. There's a whole album in a lot of our people's pages for postcard ideas or join info printables. There's tons of information, but you have to actually use your fingers and find it. So that. Zig Ziglar says, if you help enough people to get what they want, so if you help enough people to get what they want, you will always get what you want. Meaning, leaders reach down and pull everyone up with them. So if someone wants to quit their job and you help them build a business that does that, you are going to get the payoff from whatever it is that you wanted in return. But we live in a culture where it's take, take, take. We need to flip the script, and everybody knows Scentsy's different. So we need to make sure that everybody knows that we're going to help everybody rise to the top. And when I say that leaders share how they're working with their teams, there's absolutely zero reason that any leader should have to reach out to somebody and say, hey, can you share what you're doing on our team pages? You're killing it. Because there's a reason that you have 3,000 PRP. There's a reason that you've sponsored 3 people. There is no such thing as scarcity in this business. People are born every day. People turn 18 every day. So sharing what you're doing that's working with your team is going to only help them grow. It's not going to take your business away. There's no such thing as scarcity. So sharing what's working is always going to benefit everybody. Okay? Does anybody have any questions or anything so far? I'm going to speed this up so we can make sure that we are done by 9. Number 5, leaders do have boundaries. Leaders do have boundaries. Leaders do not participate in drama or negativity. Leaders do not participate in drama or negativity. If someone comes to me with drama, I usually just ignore it, because giving into it is just doing what other people want. If something is negative on my team page, I delete it. No questions asked. My team page ain't the place. Vent to your mama, vent to your friend. Don't vent to your downline. Don't vent to me, and don't vent on the team page. Actually, you can vent to me if you're a leader. I get that. I shouldn't say it like that, but there's just a time and place for that. Team no negativity. People can say whatever they want, but if you allow negativity to, it's a whole lot easier to spread negativity than it is positivity. And if you don't allow negativity on your team pages, they're not going to have anywhere for it to go. And if you let them know that you're not going to tolerate it, they're not going to keep on coming to you with it, because you teach people how to treat you. You teach people how to treat you. When I say that leaders have boundaries, this means that you have business hours for your business, especially when it comes to team members. I know this is a little harder when it comes to customers, and my husband and I used to fight about this a lot, because he's like, it's past business hours. Why are you talking to her? And I'm like, she's a customer. You still have to have boundaries with customers, but it's a tad different. So for me, I'm not answering team questions on the weekends, because I've worked this business long enough to know that I need the weekends for my family. And I know that my team page is a very valuable resource that people can go to if they need something. That doesn't mean don't text me, but that means that I'm going to leave you on red till Monday. And that's because I have to value my own time. And boundaries are very, very hard, especially when you are a natural people pleaser, especially when you don't like notifications, especially when you want to help, but you can't be everything to everyone. Okay. And something that Chloe taught me early on was the 24-hour rule. If somebody asks you a question, especially one that can be easily found within the team page of the workstation or hello, the news tab, give it 24 hours before you respond. That's not being a bitch. That's teaching your team how to fish, teaching them to be resourceful. And people are like, well, what do I say after that 24 hours? Reach out to them and say, hey, did you find what you're looking for? 9 times out of 10, they're going to have found it. For those that didn't, don't give them the answer. Don't. Tell them how to find it. Tell them where to go. That's okay. Because you know what you just taught them? You taught them how to use their resources. That's not mean. You're educating them. And whatever you do for one person, you want to make sure that you can do for 1,000 people. Because if not, that's why a lot of leaders get burnt out in Scentsy, because people are going to take and take and take. You need to create leaders, not leeches. And people are going to leech onto you if you continue to give. And by responding to that 10 o'clock text message when your business hours stopped at 8, you're rewarding that behavior. You're rewarding it by giving it any type of response. D&D is also my BFF in terms of boundaries. My phone automatically goes on do not disturb. Some people do text me out of business hours, and they may say, hey, I know this is out of business hours, but I didn't want to forget. That's okay, guys, because the boundary is mine to keep. The boundary is mine to keep. Now, if it's somebody I have a relationship with and I've been working with them and I love them, and I'm like, not that I don't love everybody, but like, for instance, Anna Watson texted me something last week and was like, I know it's outside of business hours, but I'm just so excited. I didn't respond right away. I was with my family. I saw it and I made a mental note. I'm going to go back and respond. I responded to her outside of business hours. Anna is the director. that I have been coaching for years, that I have a really good relationship with. She wasn't asking for something. She wanted to brag on herself. So hell yeah, I'm going to respond to her and give her congrats and tell her that. Because when you have a group of 1,500, you're going to miss things and you're not going to see it. And it's okay to tell your leader that you accomplished something that you're proud of, because we are people. We have lives. We miss things, guys. We miss things. But if Anna was a newer consultant who I'd already trained, and she's texting me on a Saturday at 3 p.m. asking me about the Bring Back My Bar bundle that's coming out on Monday, that's definitely on the news tab, I'm not going to respond, because they need to be a business owner. And when you do respond, don't feel bad for reminding someone of what your business hours are. That's not wrong. It's all about the way that you word it. So for me, I have just a little graphic that I made, and it tells them my business hours. It tells them how I like to be communicated with. My people know I'm not responding to you about team stuff on Facebook Messenger. I save that for other people that I'm building relationships with, customers, other leaders in Scentsy, etc. I tell them the chain of command: workstation, team page, your sponsor, your director. You can't be mad at them if they didn't know those things, if you never taught them. And saying something once isn't going to work. Make it your email signature. Chastity Robinson, phone number, business hours, Monday through Friday, blah, 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 chain of command. Add a picture. And this is actually what I'm about to write a note down to do. I'm going to add this as my signature for my new consultant emails and for my other stuff. I'm going to add this picture in my signature. Why? Because that's an idea I just came up with. And then that tells me that every email I send, it's there, because I'm not great about reminding people all the time. This is in my new consultant packet, but I know, and I'm going to write that down right now so I do not forget, that I need to be communicating that. Hold on. The biggest thing I can say about boundaries, business hours, and things like that is that you want to treat these things, even if you think you're never going to have 1,500 people on your team, in your group. I never thought I would either, but here I am. And you have to ask yourself, what can you do for one? Is it going to be the same as what you can do for 1,000 or even 40? What you can do for one is a whole lot different than what you can do for 40. Okay. Number 6, like I said, I'm gonna speed this up. Leaders do recognize. Leaders do recognize. Leaders do not wait for their director to do recognition. Leaders do recognize. Leaders do not wait on their director to recognize. You have a new team member, they hit shooting star, you shout them out. You have a new team member, welcome them to the team page. You have a team member who got active for the first time, shout them out. Want to be a director? Act like a director. And honestly, it's not a director's job to shout everybody out. It is your job. They joined you, not your director. Do not spend too much money on gifts or recognition. Free recognition is key. I'm talking screenshotting their post and showing how they're working. I'm talking email. I'm talking voice text. I'm talking cover photos. Free recognition is all people really need, because Scentsy incentivizes us enough. We're allowed to double dip, meaning we get to host our own parties, get free, and get paid on it. We have incentives going around all the time. When you help a team member earn shooting star, you get a $25 product credit. That is incentives. We don't have to do anything. Anything else that you do is extra. Let me go over these numbers really quickly for you. But I heard this from Laura Godwin, and she's somebody I really look up to. She teaches that not everybody's love language is gifts, which they're not. So there's no reason to break the bank. Lead and above consultants budget 5 to 7% of their monthly paycheck that they make from their team, not your entire paycheck. Go into your commission tab and look at whatever your TWV bonus is. Say that's $100. 5% of that is what you should use to recognize your team. Very small amount, right? And it's going to grow on that to invest back into their team. Not your PRV, not your monthly sales bonus, only your TWV team bonus, 5 to 7% of that. Literally, that can be super, super cheap and should be, because if you're sending out magnets because you bought 50 of them from Vistaprint when you're a brand new consultant, you're spending too much money. Don't try and be a superstar director when you first promote. And I'm not saying that to be ugly. I'm saying that because if not, you're going to end up spending your whole paycheck on recognition. And that's not why people join this business. If someone's joining this business because they want a freaking magnet, they need to go buy their own magnet, because that's ridiculous. So you can start with something super cheap as postcard recognition. When I say postcard, you can print your own freaking postcards from home and use a 35-cent stamp and say, congrats on your promotion. Stop feeling like you have to go print all the things. You don't, and you shouldn't. It is a mistake that I made as a leader. And guys, I still have some of those star and superstar recognition postcards that your girl just had to go buy 5 years ago. Don't do it, okay? $2 to $3 gifts on Amazon. If you search $2 gifts on Amazon, you can send it, click Prime, and you can ship that pack of Starburst for $2. $2 is kind of a lot for a Starburst, but if I took it home and shipped it, it would probably be more than that between buying the Starburst and doing all the things. You can send somebody highlighters for $3. You're not paying shipping because it's Amazon Prime. And guess what? Because you're using Amazon Prime for your business, your membership subscription is a business write-off. Hello. Do things like that. You don't even have to leave your house. Leave a little gift note. I'm going to give you an example of my paychecks and 5% of what that would be. So for instance, as a star consultant, I had made $87 off of my team. That was just TWV bonus. 5% of that would be $4.35. So I shouldn't be sending a bunch of postcards and everything else. As a star consultant, you probably don't have that many people. Now, if you have a giving heart, then go for it. But the one thing that I really hate is around Christmas, when all of these directors and superstar directors are sending all of these extravagant gifts to their team. Don't do it. And I'm saying that because I love giving gifts. Giving gifts makes me so happy. But you can't do that when you have 1,500 people in your group. I have almost 400 on my team. Even if I sent just $1 gift, that's still $400. That's a lot of money. So don't do it. Yeah, I mean, you just can't, okay? Superstar consultant. And these are just random months that I pulled to give you guys examples. As a superstar consultant, one month I made $400 off of my team. 5% of that would be $20. Okay. I could do $5 gifts for my top 5 people or whatever, or top 4 people. Or I could take $5 and do my top 3 and then my top sponsor. You can send a $5 Amazon electronic gift card. You don't have to do things like anybody else. Do you, boo? Do you? Get ideas, but don't feel like you need to go do what everybody else is doing, because it's not going to bring you joy. And if it's not going to bring you joy, don't worry about it. Don't worry about buying postcards to send to people, because I do it. Chastity's been doing this for 5 years. I need those business write-offs. I can afford to do that because I have followed this. I followed this now, and I make sure that I stick to that. So The first month as a director, I made $740 off of my team. 5% of that would be $37. Chastity went and bought all of the promotion postcards, all of the top PRV postcards, all of the top group postcards. Chastity spent probably 4 times $37, if not more than that, on all of the things that I didn't need to buy. And that's why I tell my people, please stop spending money on all of those things. Okay. All right. Next, number 7 is leaders do use systems. Leaders do use systems. Leaders do not wait until they're ready. You are never going to be ready. Leaders do not wait until they are ready. You are never going to be ready. I'm not going into systems. I just did a training on Wednesday for another team on systems and habits. I went really deep into it. Go watch that. It's on my YouTube channel. But at the end of the day, your success is up to your habits. If you're not having success, question what your habits are daily. Question what it is you need to change. And don't try and change everything at once. Ask yourself if you are being told no. Because if you're not being told no, then you aren't asking enough people. The yeses live in the land of the no's. Always. Okay. Number 8, leaders do train themselves and learn something new every day. Leaders do train themselves and learn something new every day. Okay, so side note, Tiffany, James Clear, I don't know if it's probably the article and all that. When I listened to that audiobook, that was when I created all of the systems that I have now. 3 years ago, maybe. It was when his book was really popular. It was spring break, probably maybe 2 years ago. I listened to that book every day when I went running. And when I got back from spring break, I made all of the systems that I made. So I'm going to be honest, the book itself is a little like dry at times, but everything that it stands for is so good, y'all. So good. Okay, so number 8 was leaders do train themselves and learn something new every day. Leaders do not compare themselves to everyone else. Leaders do not compare themselves to everyone else. Do we all compare ourselves? Absolutely. Absolutely. But comparison is the thief of joy. And if you continue to compare yourself, you are always going to feel less than. Always. I do it. Anna does it. Jessica does it. Elizabeth does it. We all do it. We are all going to feel less than if you let yourself sit in comparison. The grass ain't always greener, y'all. You don't know what's going on the other side of those doors. You don't know what other people's situation is. And just because so-and-so is doing that for her team doesn't mean that you have to. You need to do you, boo. Comparison in very small amounts that only leads to self-reflection is healthy. Comparing yourself to reflect, like, oh, I'm not selling 2,000 PRV. I'm not sponsoring 2 new people. That's why my team's not growing. That's healthy. But saying, oh my gosh, she's doing all of that for her team and I need to do that. So let me stop what I'm doing and do that and let everything else fall to the side. And if I can't do that, then I suck. That's different. Leaders do not compare themselves to everyone else. Done is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect. Because if you wait to be perfect, you're going to be waiting forever. And every excuse has the same weight. Jessie Lee said that. Every excuse has the same weight. So it doesn't matter if your excuse is that you don't have time to work your business because you're a single mom, because I used that excuse as my reason. So every excuse has the same weight. It doesn't matter what your excuse is if you're not getting it done. It doesn't matter. Okay. Number 9, leaders do mentor and train their team members. Leaders do mentor, and train their team members. Leaders do not focus on those who aren't working. Leaders do not focus on those who are not working. One of the biggest things that I hear from leaders, from people frustrated in their business, is that they say they can't get their team to work. They can't get their team motivated. They can't do all of that stuff. Well, you don't have any control over it. The only thing that you have control over is going out and finding some new blood, because that new blood is going to bring the momentum, and momentum is everything in this business. If your team is dead, go find a new team. If your team's not working, go find a new team. Like, stop worrying about the people who aren't working. You can train and mentor people until you're blue in the face, but you can't wake up and work their business for them. Yes, Tiffany, do it for the one that is showing up. I'm still going to show up and do this leadership call, even if there's over 250, probably 300 leaders in our group and only 19 are on right now. I'm still going to show up because I'm doing it for the 19 that are showing up. I'm doing it for the few that will watch the recording. I know things come up. I'm not one of those leaders that think that you need to stop everything and be here. But if you can be here, I think that you get a whole lot more out of it watching it live. You do it for the one, but you cannot focus on those that aren't working. You can't focus on the ones that are going to make excuses. And you need to stop coaching the ones that aren't doing what you tell them to do. They're just making an excuse. And I don't want to say tell them to do it like you're their boss, but if you're saying you need to go, this is what successful people do. Successful people have 2,000 PRV and 2 new teamies, and all they do is make excuses. Stop coaching them. Stop mentoring them. Stop giving them your time, because they're energy vampires. Go find somebody that you can bump heads with in a good way that's going to elevate you. And if you're on this call right now, I encourage you to look through the participant list and reach out to somebody that you see showing up all the time. If you're somebody that wants to grow, I encourage you to do that, because these are the people that are showing up are the ones that are growing. And the people that are showing up are the ones that are actually doing something afterwards. Okay, so Jenny said, I don't feel like it's hard to become active every month, but it seems like no one on my team can do it except for maybe 2 people. And that just means that you haven't found your 1%ers yet. You haven't found your Jenny yet, but you will. But you can only find it through numbers, meaning continuing to sponsor, continuing to show up, and asking those 2 people that are getting active to share on your team page and share exactly what they're doing. But you can't be the motivator for those people, because you can't do it forever. And a lot of times people like us that are go-getters that want it, the minimum isn't what we joined for. Truth be told, Chastity only joined to buy from herself, but I caught the vision. I saw what this business could do. And so thankfully my sponsor didn't give up on me and continued to feed our team page and let me be the one that was watching, but maybe wasn't saying anything. There are people that are watching that maybe aren't saying anything yet, but their situation can change in a blink of an eye. You never know what's going to happen in somebody's life to where they may change it. So the biggest thing that I can say about that is to love people where they are and guide them where they are, because eventually they may decide they want this as a business. Maybe they'll be a hobbyist forever, but Kate Lindquist, Anna Hughes, if y'all know of any other ones, put them in the chat box. Those were people that were certified consultants for years. And all of a sudden woke up one day and said, no more. I want to grow my team. I want this for my family. And Blair said, I always remind myself it's not that they can't do it. It's that they don't want to do it, or else they would. Exactly. Where I said earlier about every excuse has the same weight. they're either going to do it or they're not, or they're going to make an excuse. Yes. Oh, yes. I forgot about her. I need to remember to talk about her because I watched that training. Stacey Behringer. Literally, guys, Stacey Behringer. It makes me emotional because I look up to her a lot too. Sold all of the stock she had on hand, sold her kit, her catalogs, got rid of everything, and went to a party that her friend was having with a different consultant and caught the vision again. And now she's a superstar director and she makes $20,000 paychecks a month. Think about that. She quit, basically did quit. And you want to know why she quit? Because her husband said she was spending too much money. You want to know why? Because she wasn't budgeting the way that she needed to. And she knows that. She was so in love with the product that she was just spending. Host, guys. Get all the product. Anything that you see back here. Chastity did not pay full price for it. Chastity got it for free or half off. Most of it free because I use my half offs for set circles because I'm cheap. Like for real, y'all. It's because I host my own parties. Okay. Don't focus on the ones that aren't working. If you, and I know that this is something, and I promise I'm almost done, do not let yourself feel like you're a bad leader because people on your team aren't producing. Do not let yourself feel like a bad leader because people on your team aren't producing. However, when I say that, you need to self-reflect. Are you providing training? Are you mentoring them? Are you helping them launch their business? Are you doing the things that you need to do? And if you are, and they're still not performing, you may just have a bunch of hobbyists. And that's okay. Like, I just wish I could shake the mess out of everybody that's so worried about the people that only want to get 200 every couple months. Quit worrying about them and let them be happy. They're happy with that. Leave them alone. Because if not, they're going to stop doing that too if they feel pressure. So my suggestion to you, if you're feeling that way, is send out a Google form to your team and ask them, what do you want from this? Do you just want to buy from yourself? Is that the only reason that you joined? Or ask, and you can put this all in the same Google form. Ask them, what's your monthly income goal? What would be a good monthly income, or what would you be happy with a monthly income to be? And my suggestion is this, guys. Instead of leaving it blank for them to put in that number, which I did before and I haven't done it since, I would suggest doing a multiple choice, like 0 to 200, 200 to 500, 500 to 750, 750 to 1,000. And guys, please, for the love of God, put up there 10,000 or more because it is possible. People don't realize that. They still think it's fake. Even people that have been in this business for a long time, they don't see it, but they can. We have to give them the vision. And then that way, with them being honest with you, and I say Google form because people are more likely to be honest that way, because on a team page, other people can read it, other people can see it, they may feel judged. I was a teacher, I'm totally like there about not wanting to read out loud in front of other people or share my answer. That way you can reach out to them one-on-one and tell them, I'm here to support you as a hobbyist, or I'm here to support you to make $500 a month paychecks. These are the things that we need to do to get there. And then if they're not willing to put in the work, then you kind of know where you're at. I hope that makes sense for y'all. All right. And the last one, number 10, leaders do set goals and communicate with their team. Leaders do set goals and communicate with your team. This is a big one. Lord, this is a big one, and it may step on some people's toes. Leaders do not own their teams. Leaders do not own their teams. I'm going to say it one more time for the people in the back. Leaders do not own their teams. You are going to meet leaders that feel like they own you or their downline. You are going to meet leaders who want their team to be successful, but never more successful than them. You're going to meet people who don't necessarily like their teams searching out other trainings from people in different groups. You're going to find that some leaders have the real ugly disease of jealousy. And that's not what we do here. We don't do that in Shine Your Light. If you don't vibe with me, please find somebody you do vibe with. If you vibe with someone else, please vibe with them. There is not going to be a single bit of hate from me because I want you to succeed. Because if I know as a leader, I don't have all the answers. I know that you're going to, I want to say personify, but that is not the word that I'm looking for. You are going to relate to other people's stories better than me. And I want that for you. And I know that most, if not all of our leaders in this group want that. That's why we share other people's trainings. That is why when I send out my Monday emails that I try my best to pick different people and not always the same people. Because one of the major things, I have an amazing sponsor. I do. There's nothing I can say negative about that. But I also went out and searched on YouTube and found people that were my girl crushes, that I looked up to, that I learned from them, that my sponsor said the exact same thing, but I related to them in a different way, or they said it at a different time. My circumstances changed. You don't own your people. So sharing other people's training, letting your team learn from somebody else is the right thing to do. Period. It's the right thing to do, because if you want good for people, it shouldn't matter where they're getting it from, unless they're bringing in a negative energy. We all know that Chastity's not doing that negative energy. But you cannot do this business alone. You can't be successful in this business alone. So wherever it is that you're going to get your community from, that's what matters. Because if you build a community within your team and you build trust and you build culture. Yes. No, baby, I'll be out in just a minute. Lock the door. My kids are still knocking on it. Who knows what's going on out there? When you build a community, your leaders are going to emerge, natural born leaders. And if you have people that are still scared to, I know I said earlier, I don't understand why some people don't share if they're rock stars. Yes, but then also some people don't know that they're rock stars. Some people don't know that what they're doing is a really good thing. They don't know that having 3,000 PRV right now in the month is really big. So it's not crazy for you to ask them to share it or to delegate those tasks, because guys, leaders are created. Some people are just natural born leaders, like my daughter. Let's hope that she leads something positive and not a prison gang. But some people just have that natural born go-getter personality. Some people need a little bit of push. Some people need a little bit of confidence. Some people need to know that what they're doing is good, because they don't know. You don't know what you don't know, right? So build that community. When I'm talking about setting goals and communicating with your team, this is where you need to learn their strengths and weaknesses. This is where you need to learn your own strengths and weaknesses. This is where you need to find out love languages, find out Enneagram numbers, find out personality types. A lot of times when leaders aren't getting along, and you'll find this funny, a lot of times when some leaders aren't getting along, it's because they're very much similar. They're very bullheaded together, like not in a bad way, but they're very similar. And so they butt heads. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. You don't have to be everybody's best friend, but we're going to be respectful. And if you can teach your team that you don't have to love everybody and be BFF with them, but you're still going to respect them as a leader, they're going to respect you so much more, because we're not in high school. Nobody has time for the petty Betty BS. I mean, they just don't. And if you're on some of the other Scentsy pages within the community, you know that it can be real negative real fast. I tell all my people, turn off those notifications, only go there if you can't sleep at night and you need some entertainment, but please don't comment in it. Please don't get engaged in any of that stuff, because Chastity don't play that. None of my other leaders play that. Now, I can't say that we don't screenshot it and talk about it sometimes because it's so ridiculous, because we do. But just know that no leader owns their team. Your team can get what they get from a plethora of different places. And if you are a leader on here tonight and you don't necessarily vibe with your leader, know that it's okay, but just be respectful. And when you find leaders that you do vibe with, share it on your team page, because guys, we're better together. We're only as good as our weakest link. Teamwork makes the dream work all day long. And so just know that, because if all I'd ever done was just listen to my sponsor, who is amazing, most of you guys know, I just know that there are so many other places in my business that I've gotten good things from outside of just my sponsor. It's not just your sponsor. And I know that for me and many other people that put our trainings on YouTube, we don't do it just for our teams. We do it because we want to help other people. God gave me this vessel, and I don't feel like I would be fulfilling my purpose if I just kept all of that to myself, because God really puts it on my heart to help. Because for those of you that don't know, and it makes me really emotional because there just hasn't been that many Scentsy events for many of you guys to experience this. But for those of you that don't know, there are people that would kill to be in our culture. Kill, literally slit your throat and die, because they want what we have. And what we have is amazing, but we've worked for it. And that's why we don't let the negativity sit. That's why we have the hard conversations with people. That's why we set the boundaries, and that's why we share the things that we do. So the last thing that I want to leave you with tonight is, a lot of people get really hung up when it comes to goals about like not reaching them. But I want you, instead of setting a yes goal, I want you to set a no goal. How many no's do you want to hear between now and the end of the month? How many no's for joining your team or hosting a party? Because the yeses live in the land of the no's. And if we can reframe our brain around the no's and that is a negative thing, we need to reframe it. And if you haven't listened to the book, Go for the No for Network Marketers, it's a really easy audiobook listen. And I re-listen to a lot. That's why I buy my books on audio, because I like to just listen to. Have you guys ever listened to a book and you just like certain chapters? Like you may just need a reminder. Superstar directors, brand new consultants, you can never stop learning. And that's why I like buying my books on audio, because if I just need like a real kick in the pants because I know I'm not asking enough people, I will go listen to some chapters from Go for the No. Because hearing a no, it doesn't feel good ever. It never starts to feel good, but you can reframe your mindset around it. Because if you're hearing no, at least they gave you an answer. At least they responded to you. At least you can still have that conversation instead of them just leaving you on red or whatever else. So reframe your brain about that. And Cindy, I'm so glad that you did pop on. I know that traveling is exhausting in general, and I'm proud of you. Exactly, Tiffany. And that's the thing. The last thing I'm going to leave you guys on is just remember that you are here for a reason. You showed up on this call for a reason. There was something that you needed to hear. I showed up on this call for a reason because I've been having a real emotional week and had a migraine all day. But I scrubbed the orange self-tanner off my hands, not all the way because you can still see it. I washed my hair, did a deep conditioning mask, straightened it, and got my life together because I said bosses don't cancel. And I'm not going to cancel on my leaders because I don't feel well. I'm not dying. I don't have corona. It's okay. I could come on here and do the call, even though I was emotional and cried for half of the thing. But I just want you guys to know that I love y'all and I pray over your businesses and I see y'all that are showing up on this call. And I am working on doing a Leap to Lead program. I've talked to a couple of my people about it. Even though you hear the name Leap to Lead, I would highly encourage every single one of you to participate because your teams are going to see you. Your teams are going to notice whether or not you are, whether or not you're showing up. I would also encourage you to look at your bar report on your workstation because I know for me, an area of weakness is getting my people to lead and star consultant as well as getting paid at title consistently as a lead and star consultant. So this program that we are going to run with a couple other leaders is going to be really, really great. Yes, I saw your email. I read it and I'm going to be looking at that tomorrow. But I think that this program is really going to help everybody and really launch us in this new incentive season. And I think a lot of our people just need to have some good habits. And I don't think that they exactly know how to do that, or they're just not going out and doing it on their own. But this will be a really great way to start. But I love y'all. Have a great night. And let's finish up this week strong. Let's finish up this week strong, or this month strong, because Sunday is the last day of the month. And I'm just super excited for y'all. But I love y'all and I will talk to y'all soon. Good night.